Wire enablers such as Android, iOS, Windows Phone, HSPA+, LTE, and near-field communications, why are they important to us? Well, the answer is because they help to enable the primary driver of the wireless industry in today, and that's mobile applications. And that's what we're all here for. The WAMM Awards were created by the Wireless Technology Forum, or the WTF, to recognize the best of the best in the wireless application and mobile media industry. Tonight, we'll be recognizing people and companies that are responsible for setting the bar in the mobile application space, with the overall winner of the Best Application of the Year will be granted a special pass by the GSMA to the Global Mobile Awards in beautiful Barcelona, which is part of the Mobile World Congress, the largest mobile event in the world. And thank you also to our sponsors, who without them we wouldn't be able to have this event tonight. Please give it up for our sponsors. And now I'd like to introduce our Master of Ceremonies for tonight's awards, Jeff Mucci. Jeff, before he comes up here, let me give a little background. Jeff's the CEO and the editorial director of RCR Wireless News, the leading wireless publication.
One of our strategies is working closely with local companies like Wireless Technology Forum. So Richard, thank you so much for having me. We have 3 great keynote speakers tonight. The first one is Cameron Clayton of the Weather Channel. The second is Ian Geller of Pandora. And the third is Jay Lee of ESPN. We have a great group of nominees and a great group of sponsors and partners in the room. And again, really appreciate everyone coming out tonight. Our next keynote, we'll be discussing mobile entertainment and streaming. And we're very happy to have Ian Geller from Pandora. Ian Geller is Vice President of Business Development from Pandora. Since joining the company in 2006, Ian has been responsible for expanding Pandora's reach from the PC to mobile and consumer electronics. He manages Pandora's relationships with the mobile operators and OEMs, as well as the major consumer consumer electronics device brands and chipset manufacturers. Previously, Ian was Director of Product Management at Virgin Mobile USA, where he was responsible for defining Virgin Mobile music strategy and development. Ian's career began as a product manager at CTNY, Thin Air Apps in New York City, a pioneer in the development of wireless data services, which was acquired by Palm in 2001. Ian, thanks for joining us tonight.
Roughly 6 years ago, someone sent me an email that wound up having a dramatic impact on my career. The subject said, "You really need to check this out." And the message of the email, or the body of the email, said, "There's this new site called Pandora.com. It launched. It's got something to do with music. I'm not exactly sure how it does what it does, but it's really cool. I think you need to take a look at it." So, I'm generally skeptical about emails like that. But that skepticism eroded within minutes of that web page loading. At the time, Pandora wasn't much to look at. But within minutes of me putting in the first artist name and starting that station, I knew it was something special. At the time, I was developing a music strategy for Virgin Mobile, and I was struggling to figure out how to deliver a great music experience to phones. After using Pandora for the first time, I immediately thought, wow, this is just what I'm looking for. A music service that provides an incredible listening experience, is effortless to use, and is remarkably easy to explain to consumers. In particular, I like that Pandora didn't really try to be a tastemaker. It left it up to the listeners to craft an experience that was very personal and individual for them. I knew then that as great as Pandora was on the web, its true potential was on phones, and I was determined to make it part of the Virgin Mobile lineup. Much to my dismay, I was never able to get that deal done despite many, many attempts. However, when Jessica Steele, who's now the EVP of Business Development at Pandora, called me up a few months later, or a few months after our initial conversations, and she said, we're about to really make some big moves into mobile. We need someone who understands the space. Are you interested in maybe joining the team? I actually didn't hesitate for a second. I was on the plane the next morning to go out to California to interview with the team, and I think I was working for Pandora the next day. I'm sorry, not the next week. I wish it was the next. It was the next week. So anyway, that's a little bit about me, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here talking to all of you today. But I thought maybe it'd be good to take a step back and tell you a little bit about Pandora and why I am as enamored with it today as I was when I used it the first time 6 years ago. Put simply, Pandora is personalized radio. We take everything that is awesome about radio, free and easy to use with fantastic discovery opportunities, and we move it into the future by taking advantage of the internet, which enables each listener to have a personal and real-time conversation with their very own DJ. Rather than the traditional model where a broadcast station has to satisfy a large group of listeners with varying tastes and interests, Pandora focuses on satisfying each listener individually, and people are responding. We're actually the leaders in this next evolution of radio. Right now, we account for 60% of all internet radio listening among the top 20 networks and stations in the US. More than 100 million people have turned on Pandora to listen to free, personalized radio. And as I had predicted all those years ago, many of them do so via their mobile devices, as mobile listening now accounts for 70% of Pandora's total listening hours. Pandora stations are generated from a single song, artist, composer, comedian, or genre, and become increasingly personalized as listeners interact with those stations, giving a thumbs up or thumbs down to the music that they hear. Tens of millions of people have a deeply personal connection with Pandora based on the delight of personalized radio listening and discovery. It's perhaps life's most evocative and powerful form of art. Hopefully everyone here has had that moment, that feeling of serendipity when they're listening to the radio and just the perfect song comes on at absolutely the right time that completely captures the mood in the moment. That's the exact kind of experience that we're trying to recreate for our listeners with every song that we play. Nothing brings us greater delight than hearing from a listener who has discovered a band that they love or rediscovered a song or an artist that they had long since forgotten. But music discovery is no longer confined to traditional music devices. Music discovery is something that can happen everywhere and anywhere through any type of connected device. Pandora started on the web in 2005, and people clearly embraced the opportunity to listen to free music on their own personalized radio stations. The audience grew rapidly. Soon, we had millions of listeners streaming tens of millions of personalized stations across the country. This listening was mostly at work though. We could actually see it in our bandwidth usage. At 9 a.m. on Eastern time, we'd see bandwidth like just take off. But by 5 o'clock Pacific time, we'd see just an incredible drop in usage. We knew when people were working, or at least we knew when people were in their offices with a good connection to the internet. But we've always known that in-office radio listening only accounted for a small portion of all of radio listening. With more than 50% of listening of radio listening now happens in cars, 30% happens in homes. So we knew that in order to achieve our goals, we needed to move beyond at-work listening and strip away the confines of an internet browser running on a PC. And that brings us to something that happened on July 11th, 2008, which is the other part of the reason why I'm standing here talking to you today. On that day, we made Pandora available for download via Apple's brand new App Store for the iPhone. And it took off like a rocket. Our growth rate almost doubled overnight. Our registration numbers soared, and we watched in amazement as millions of people started to download and use our app. All of a sudden, people were listening to Pandora everywhere, in the gyms, in their cars, at the gym, in the kitchens, on the go, everywhere that they could get cell coverage or Wi-Fi connectivity. Almost overnight, we were transformed from a desktop, primarily at-work listening phenomenon to a truly ubiquitous experience. Pandora was everywhere because the wireless network was everywhere. At that point, we were no longer computer radio. Now we were just radio with a capital R. We were personalized anytime, anywhere, a category redefined. To date, the Pandora app has been downloaded more than 90 million times on the most popular smartphones in the US and is among the top 5 most used smartphone apps. The notion of Pandora everywhere remains an incredibly important part of our core mission and identity. Only 3 short years later, and the landscape for apps has completely changed. In 2008, the mobile phone was the only option beyond the PC, but not anymore. The world of apps has exploded, and now Pandora is available on over 400 different consumer electronics devices. From the smallest of screens to the most elaborate of 3D TVs, and now we're even on refrigerators. Consumers no longer are constrained to a smartphone, and by extension, they're no longer constrained to a single small screen. Today, apps are available to people through any connected device. Pandora transformed the radio listening experience by making it highly personalized. The app ecosystem has now allowed us to bring this new form of listening to a much larger arena. We are now entering a world where virtually every device will have some sort of connection to the internet. The proliferation of connectivity is staggering, and we are fast approaching a time where users will have access to any content they want at any time and on any device. But the type of device they use, whether it's a smartphone or a stereo or TV or an automobile or even a fridge, that's going to become irrelevant. It's the context of the device that will be most important, and that's what we are most concerned about. In other words, we're not really so much worried about what device the user is going to use, but how and where they're using it. We're incredibly excited about the connectivity explosion that is upon us, as it only helps to reinforce our message of Pandora being available anytime and anywhere. But at the same time, we're keenly aware that one of the best things about radio is its ease of use. And we strive to make sure that Pandora not only plays the best radio stations in the world, but also that it does so as seamlessly as possible, particularly as people transition between multiple devices throughout the day. Maintaining our commitment to providing the best possible experience across a wide variety of devices is certainly a challenge, particularly in a fragmented, multi-screen world. But we see this as a good problem to have, and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we stay ahead of the curve. We're working closely with our OEM, carrier, chipset, and platform partners to make sure that we're able to deliver the best experience possible in any context and on any device. But while things change, we know that no matter how many different devices people use to access Pandora, the one thing that remains constant for us is the power of personalization. And we remain laser focused on delivering our users with the best personalized radio experience in the world, wherever and whenever they want it. Thank you for allowing me to speak here today. It's really been an exciting time at Pandora, the last 5 years and even the last 5 months. And I'm happy to have been able to just to share a little bit about it with you. So,
thank you very much.
So we're wrapping it up here, and I just want to say thank you to AT&T folks that are here. AT&T, of course, provided us the facility here, this auditorium, and they also provide their support throughout the year to the Wireless Technology Forum and also for helping out WAMM. I'd like to thank the GSMA folks for giving us a spot again for the Best App Award, the Google Maps folks, and for the Global Mobile Awards in Barcelona. This is a really, really big deal. It's very hard to make it into this, and by the folks making this qualification, and hopefully it's one of our innovators next year, from this year, will be back as one of our winners, and you'll be able to go to Barcelona and showcase to the world your application. In closing, what I'd like to do is to give a challenge to the developers that are out there to please keep making the cool apps that are out there, whether you're ESPN or whether you're Zeus Mobile or whoever else is out there. The consumers keep demanding more apps because it's demand that they're listening to. And last but not least, the device makers, if any of them are here, please bring us some new toys for the holidays this year. Good night. Thank you very much.